Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success.
Hi, I'm Kellye. I'm here with Dawn and Lisa, and from time to time here on Ladies in Law, we are going to bring in amazing guests whom we've been impacted by, who are real trailblazers, either in business or law or both. And today we could not be more excited to introduce to you our friend Tiffany McGee. She is the first woman CEO of the Texas Trial Lawyers Association. She is, for me, somebody that just really embodies what a leader is. And she's such a beautiful friend. We couldn't be more excited to have you. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Tiffany, thanks for
Thank
being
you
here.
for having me. I think I look at Kellye and her impact on my life and on the lives of everyone that she comes in contact with. And, you know, when you look at trial lawyers are bright lights in and of themselves. But Kellye lights up everyone around her. And I think that makes her unique. It makes you unique among your colleagues. So I'm honored to be included on this. I think this is so great. And I'm so proud of y'all for this new podcast.
Well, we are so excited to have you. Let's start, for those of our listeners who may not know what Texas Trial Lawyers Association is, or we'll call it TTLA, because that's a little bit easier to say. Tell us what TTLA is and what you do as the CEO.
So Texas Trial Lawyers Association is a professional nonprofit made up of Texas's, leading trial lawyers, plaintiff attorneys. It's a volunteer organization of over 2,700, almost 2,800 members from all over the state. Our goal, our mission is protecting Texas families through good laws and good lawyers. And the sort of two domains in that mission are our work, good laws, our work in the Texas legislature, and good lawyers, the network and the knowledge exchange and the education of trial lawyers throughout the state of Texas. My role here is to manage the assets of the organization, to manage the staff, and to make sure that, you can't whistle a symphony. We have a lot of specialists that work for TTLA, and my job is to make sure that all those instrument sections are playing together, that they're all reading from the same sheet music, and that the mission is accomplished.
That's a great analogy. One of the things that I think about when I think about you specifically as a leader is the staff that you have around you, that you have cultivated. Every single member of your staff that I have met, that I know, works hard. They are good people. And so naturally, I think it has a lot to do with your leadership. Tell us a little bit about, what being a leader means to you.
I think that, I've done a lot of research on leadership. I've seen so many association executives throughout my time, both through National Association of Trial Lawyer Executives, the folks that run trial lawyer groups around the country, and also here in Austin, the sort of the seat of government and the seat of major statewide associations. Those executive directors, they've taught me a lot about what leadership is, and both in what to do and what not to do. But I think that for me, I think that anyone can smell a fake. So I have to be genuine. I have to be my genuine self. I have to be vulnerable with the team that I lead. I communicate with them. I tell them what's going on. Even former staff members know that, if there was a problem, we walked to the wall and read the writing on it together. I don't think anybody should be surprised if they get fired. But I think that communication with the staff and treating them with the respect that they deserve is important. They're all specialists, and I think you have to hire good people and then get out of their way. I don't pretend to do what they do. I don't pretend to be a specialist that I am not. And I honor their specialty and get out of the way and let them do their jobs.
Yeah, Tiffany, I mean, you are such an inspiration. You are absolutely genuine. I mean, the first time I met you, you're just such a warm person and such a welcoming person. And that comes through everything you do. So, I mean, when it comes to being able to trust people and turn over those reins, how do you do that? I'm still trying to learn. How do you step back and really, really trust the people that are working for you to just kind of run with it? And then how do you, I don't know, kind of herd them into going all in the same direction with one voice, one focus? What skills do you use to be able to do that?
It's communication and objectivity. I think that it's hard for any CEO. These are lonely jobs, and you can't be friends with your employees to some extent because you have to remain objective and you have to value the results that they produce over the friendship that you might have with them. It's really hard. But I learned a lot from my predecessor, and I know how to strike that balance, I think. I do think that we learned a lot together. I think that when I took over as CEO, I mean, I jumped into the deep end of the pool. I did not have the experience of a CEO, but I was brutally honest with myself about the things that I did not know. And I embarked on getting my CAE designation. That's a Certified Association Executive designation. And once you, it's a test, it's a 4-hour test with 200 multiple choice questions in every domain of association management. And the thought is that if you carry that designation, they can plug you into whatever nonprofit association and capably run it based on best practices and professional practices in association management. When I went through that process, I had to be brutally honest with myself about the things that I didn't know. I had to learn a lot. I spent a year in classes and various seminars on financial management and for nonprofits. And as I learned, I brought my team along with me, and we worked on things at TTLA during that process. And the staff has been brought along on that journey with me. Management is doing things right, and leadership is doing the right things. And I think I have to be invested in the success of the people who work here. And they know that. They know that I want them to be successful. They know that I value them. And I think that comes through in their work and their collaboration with me and the rest of the folks on our team.
That's something that we have spent a lot of time talking about, this idea that when you find yourself in a leadership role, or you're starting a business or trying something new, that oftentimes you do just jump right into the deep end and you don't feel ready. You may not feel prepared. What are some of the things that you feel like you've kind of overcome getting into a role? You've been in that role now, right, for quite a while. And so when I first met you, I have a hard time ever imagining that you weren't just a complete pro from day one. I still don't know. I still don't know if I believe that you didn't know what you felt like you should. But what are some of the things that you kind of had to overcome within yourself to I say all the time, I'm still kind of faking it till I make it, right? And as long as nobody else can tell that I'm a big fraud, it's okay.
We're not talking about imposter syndrome here today. We're not doing it.
But tell us a little bit about, what are some of the things kind of specific to you, specific to TTLA, that you feel like you've had to overcome?
I knew that I didn't have the experience as a CEO. And when they gave me the role in 2014 and I officially took over, I did a few things. This group in NATLE, the National Association of Trial Lawyer Executives, these are people, mostly women, that do what I do. And I've been a member of that group forever. But those women I have on a text string, and for the first year, even now, I still consult them. But that first year, any decision I made at that time, I would run it by them and say, okay, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. And they confirmed, yes, that's the right step to take. Before long, I realized I've got this. And you sort of check your own work with people are experienced, that are wise, that have done it the right way. And as long as I was getting a good grade from those folks and getting confirmation from them, that was extremely helpful. I think I've gotten past that now, but I do still every day I collaborate with my team. I collaborate with my president. I talk to members about, their experiences in TTLA to make sure that we're evolving and doing the things we need to do for diverse members and for younger members, because that's who's going to take this over in the future. But I do think, we all suffer from imposter syndrome. We have a weird structure at TTLA. I'm not the chief lobbyist. Someone else does that. And I've been granted authority on, a huge organization, millions and millions of member dollars that I need to be a good steward of. And that is what I check my paper against in the actions that I take. Is what I'm about to do, is the money we're about to spend something that's going to move the mission forward? And will the people who gave this money feel good about having done it? I also constantly think about earning their faith and making decisions that make members proud that they put me in this position. I want to make sure that those lawyers feel good about choosing me, and that never escapes me. But I think with the stuff that I had to overcome internally was just self-doubt and the fear of making a mistake, and learning from the mistakes of my predecessor and making sure that I don't repeat those in the future.
Well, Tiffany, one of the things that you said in the very beginning, I never thought a CEO would say that you were vulnerable, that you opened up in a way to your team and the people to show your authentic self. So I know that there's others that would love to have an opportunity or have some influence on getting involved with the association, maybe not even at your level, but they don't have the confidence, they have the self-doubt. Like, what would you say? How would they start down that road just to get involved at that level with a servant's heart?
I think for TTLA members and volunteers, you guys are so busy, and you're only going to do things for TTLA that you want to make time for. So I would tell anybody that wants to get involved in TTLA to think about what the association does and what you care about. Do you care about, education? Do you care about networking with other lawyers? Do you care about politics and our legislative efforts? Think about the things that resonate in your own heart and raise your hand and say, I want to help. It's really easy to get involved in TTLA. There's something for everybody. And I would say, think about what you care about. And what gifts that you have that you can share with the organization. There's a difference between governance and management. Governance is telling me and the staff where you want to go, and management is figuring out how to get there. Members' roles are to govern and to set that policy and set direction, and leave it to us to figure out, procedurally, how do we get there? And we always have an eye for leadership development, for networking for you guys. We really want to make sure that you're connected and you feel good about your decision to join the organization. I would say join the listserver is the first step of any member. That is such a window into what members are thinking about, what they care about, what their concerns are day to day, and their practices. In the end, that's what TTLA exists for, is to help you win your cases. I go back to, it's a funny story. Huh?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us your story.
No, I was just going to say a funny story. Back when AAJ changed their name from ATLA to the Association of Trial Lawyers of America to the American Association for Justice, there was this wave across the country of trial lawyer organizations changing their name to the, Kentucky Justice Association. Yeah, it was a big movement. And when it came to Texas, we had a board meeting in New Orleans, and the old guard stood up and said, over my dead body, we're trial lawyers, and that's in our name. It needs to be in our name. That's who we are. And one of our young female members raised her hand, and she said, a name is a name, but if we change it, is it going to help us win? And that resonated with me. And that's what my personal hope in my work at TTLA and what we do here is we need to help you guys win your cases. Full stop. Whether that's through good laws or good lawyers.
We absolutely need that help. Thank you very much. We appreciate everything that y'all do to help us win, because I don't know, when we're winning, we're making a difference, we're making an impact, right? We're protecting sometimes the most vulnerable members of society. And we can't do it alone. It takes not just one person or 10, it takes thousands of people. So we do appreciate everything that you do. And I actually am so curious about how you manage all the diverse personalities, right? You've got these trial lawyers with, we keep on saying, huge egos.
I say that all the time.
Kellye thinks I have a really big ego, apparently.
I think in order to be a good trial lawyer, this is probably the 100th time now I'm saying this. In order to be a good trial lawyer, you have to have a healthy amount of ego to think that you can stand up and convince a jury to go with you. But tell us what that's like managing this, what I think is just a rock star group of trial lawyers, some of the best lawyers in the country, brilliant minds, and you are at the top of that organization. How do you manage all of the different personalities that come with those fantastic trial lawyers?
With incredible deft. I
love it.
I think all association execs have to be adaptable. We deal with transient leadership. We have a new crop of leaders that come in every year. So in order to hold these jobs, you've got to be able to understand different personalities and adapt to those. Paula Sweeney once told me, she said, Tiffany, I think your job is like, I think of it as being a farmer, and you've got a wheelbarrow full of bullfrogs, and you got to get that wheelbarrow full of bullfrogs from one side of an enormous field to another, with all of them hopping out and putting them back in, and with getting to the other side with all of them intact. And that's exactly what it's like. But I think it starts with a healthy respect that I don't do what you do and you don't do what I do. Being an association executive and an associational or a specialist is a special skill set, and it's not one that you have in your office. Frankly, I think that the leaders in TTLA they see me with the kind of presence that Amy Cuddy talks about in her book Presence. I try to have warmth, and I try to have competence, and I work at the competence part to overcome my imposter syndrome. Because I think the warmth part of it, you can't fake that.
Certainly not with trial lawyers, right? They're going to sniff that out.
Smell it a mile away. So, but I do think I think that communication and transparency is a huge part of it. There are big egos, and I've had to try tactics throughout my career that are not innate to me. Great example, Todd Tracy, who I absolutely have a dear, long-standing friendship with, but it didn't start that way. He was brash, he was bossy, he was, all the things that Todd can be. And until one day he sent me kind of a snarky email, and I fired back at him in a strong but professional way. And his response was, "Atta girl." It's kind of like
right.
He'd been waiting for it. And we have been dear, dear friends ever since. I think he respects my abilities in my profession, just as I respect his. So that's just one example. There's so many of those.
That story just reminded me of a book that I saw the other day, and the title of it was How to Hug a Porcupine. And I thought that I think I'm going to buy it, just because dealing with so many different personalities all the time, and in whatever business that you're in, your business unique, obviously, because you are dealing with really skilled orators, you're dealing with really brilliant legal minds. And so they can also kind of create their own set of particular issues, maybe.
I still am horribly uncomfortable giving my CEO report at board meetings. I know I get made fun of because I write it all out, and then I read it to the group. But for me, standing up and speaking in front of you guys is very intimidating. And I also want to make sure that nothing gets left out. I'm a stickler about transparency, and I spend days, sometimes weeks, putting those reports together. And it's very important to me that members know what I know, and that I share that with them, and I don't get flustered and leave something out.
Tell us a little bit about, one of the things that is never lost on me is that I'm still relatively new in my career, right? And there are so many women trailblazers that have come before me that have made my path so much easier than it was. But tell us what it was like kind of back in the day with that old guard, kind of the good old boys club, and you come in, and I know you spent quite a few years working at TTLA before you were the CEO. So I imagine that familiarity helped a bit, but tell us what that aspect of it was like. Was that a smooth transition? Did the old guard take to you right away, as I imagine they would, or was it so you had some members kind of challenging you and kind of test and see what you were made of?
Well, let me go back to the early 90s when I started, because one of the programs that we wanted to put together was a full day CLE called Women Trial Lawyers in the 90s. And one of our members, a woman named Karen Lerner, and I mean, keep in mind, being a female trial lawyer in the 80s and 90s, you had to be tough as nails, man. They wanted to be on equal footing with the men. They did not want to be segregated out as dealing with issues of their own because they're women. And this program, when I tell you it failed miserably, it crashed and burned. A couple of lessons that I learned in that scenario. Number one, my boss had my back. She was a woman. She was I mean, exemplary association executive, but also she never cursed ever, ever. And she called me after I got reamed out for the failure of this program. And she said, "You have busted your ass on this. This is not your fault. We can't make them love the programs that a handful of people want to put on. And you can't make them come. It's not for them. And they vote with their feet and their pocketbooks. And that experience, that failure, taught me quite a few lessons. Number one, knowing what I know now, if I had known it then, I would have used the CAE term, SPY: scan, plan, implement, evaluate. So first you want to scan and check the environment. You want to look at who your audience is and ask, is this something you want? Is it something that's going to be a fruitful endeavor? And we failed to do that. So I think I've probably veered off from your original question, but the back then, the women of TTLA did not want to be segregated out. They wanted equal footing with the men. I don't think that's different today, but I think the support systems for women are very different in TTLA today. I think there is a level of trust and vulnerability that women share with one another that they don't share in a co-ed environment. The women's listserv at TTLA has been a huge success. And what I've tried to do is talk to younger members, and I know leadership has been focused on the co-ed listserv, and the fact that so few younger members use it in the way that the older members do. I think there's a bit of a culture issue on the listserv, and there's a reluctance of these younger members to post questions that might make them look, they're novices. They're new, they're novice questions, and they don't want to be perceived as a dummy. And they will search the listserv first to find the answer that they need from someone who has asked it before. And then they'll turn to their text string of their colleagues that they trust and feel safe with, and they'll ask for advice from them. The women's listserv is a much more supportive and safer space for the women to ask questions of one another, and to not just to ask questions, but to get advice.
So that's really what we've been kind of grappling with as a group. The three of us have been talking about that quite a bit. And I'm kind of like Kellye right now. She feels, we've talked about it. She feels like, we should move in all equal footing with men. And I've always been like that until probably about the last 5 years. And that supportive network of women, like building that core base, that group, that confidence to be able to move to other groups. I just feel like it's, like you said, you can be more vulnerable, and something about getting into a group of women or being friends with a group of women that is living these lives, right? Living similar lives, dealing with really hard issues, dealing with, you know, a lot of ego, you know, all of that. And I've gotten a lot out of it. I really have.
It's actually it's something that I hadn't fully appreciated before, because I was and still largely am sort of the opinion, I don't want a women's only listserv. Why would I want to cut my advice in half? And I'm not tapping into the equally smart men and the men that have great trial experience and they're going to give you good advice. And so I tend to go more towards, I want to just bully up to the table and I don't want to make my own table, right? But I think that makes a lot of sense to think about, especially if I'm a younger female trial lawyer. There's this huge amount of intimidation that comes with what if this is a stupid question, or I don't feel comfortable. And so if the end result is just not engagement, that's not what we want, right? If especially younger females feel more comfortable engaging on the women's only listserv as sort of a stepping stool to the bigger listserv, that makes a lot of sense to me. It's not something that I had really contemplated before.
Can I ask y'all a question? So when you have a question that you feel vulnerable about, where do you go first?
I want to go to friends. I want to go to somebody who will be honest with me, but who is going to make it a little bit softer, right? I don't want to go to somebody I don't know. I don't want to go to somebody that, might not be, as warm, I'll say.
I mean, yeah, right. When you're you go to your community, you go to the people that you know are not going to make fun of you, that are going to listen and get you the best advice possible. You definitely don't want to walk up to somebody that you don't know, that you think is going to think you're stupid. You don't want to expose yourself like that, especially when you're new and young and you're making a reputation for yourself. I mean, people remember people when they make bold statements or dumb statements. I mean, I just have to say, like, if you come across and you're asking something that you shouldn't really be asking in a big group, it could really impact you in the long run. And this is probably not encouraging women to, or men, young men, to say bold things on.
Exactly. So, Tiffany, I'm not a lawyer. I own a court reporting firm, been in the legal for over 30 years. So my take is different, but most recently I attended a plaintiff conference in Vegas, and what they did before they started the entire conference, they put all the women together and I was able to attend. I'll tell you the couple of things that I noticed. Number one is the conversation is different. They did have components where they're addressing the concerns in this specific litigation and what to do, different speakers related to that, but they also had things that were about work-life balance, about burnout. And then the thing that really struck me is I knew some of the speakers, but there were speakers that I didn't know. But every single one of them said, if you have a question, if you need something, feel free to reach out to me. And I have to tell you, that really was sincere and authentic. So that was the component of the women's conference that I was like, wow, that's what they're getting by meeting before they all go into the main conference. And I was really, really impressed.
So let me tell y'all, several years ago, the American Society of Association Executives did a big study. Their research arm did a huge study on why people join associations. And when they looked at the data based on gender, men join associations because I can make a difference. Women join associations because we can make a difference.
I love that.
That's not at all surprising, but so important to hear, I think.
I love that. I love that.
Well, one of the things why I feel so grateful to have you in my life, I learn from you every single time I talk to you. And one of the most important things that I think you've shared with us today is that, and what I think a lot of people are not doing enough of, myself included, is really being introspective and taking a look in your own self. what can I be doing better? What can I be doing differently? What's working, what's not, really kind of gut checking yourself to make sure that you are constantly being the person you want to be, right? That to me is something, thank you for sharing that. It's such a great reminder to really be introspective, to look at yourself, kind of start from within so that you can more positively impact everybody around you. I think you truly embody that. Thank you so much for coming on, Tiff.
Oh my goodness. Thank you guys for having me, and good luck with this podcast. I'm so honored to have been asked, and I'm so proud of what you all are doing. And thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Tiffany. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.